Many Warframes use elemental powers, others rely on overpowered weapons. Dante? Dante uses a goddamn book. And somehow, this thing absolutely destroys Steelpath. And the craziest part? Most people aren't even using Noctua correctly. Today I'm showing you the full build, how it works, and how to turn Dante into a walking war crime powered by literature. Welcome everyone to this Dante guide, where I'll try to dump my limited knowledge straight into your brain so you can enjoy one of the most fun ways to play this frame. Quick disclaimer though, this build requires a pretty big investment and you'll need access to a decent amount of late game content. Also, this setup heavily rewards precision gaming. If you can consistently hit weak points and headshots, the damage becomes absolutely ridiculous. And yes, the difference is that big. Table of contents should be on screen right now, so with that out of the way, let's get into it. Alright, as you saw in the intro, this build revolves entirely around Noctua, Dante's exalted secondary weapon. We're going to abuse almost every verse combination in Dante's kit to scale this thing as hard as possible. And trust me, once all the buffs stack together, Noctua starts doing damage that honestly makes no sense. But before we get into the mods, there's one mechanic this build abuses that most people completely ignore, and once you understand it, Dante's damage suddenly starts making a lot more sense. Let's start with a quick overview of Dante's abilities. His passive allows Noctua and Page Fragments to automatically scan enemies on kill. Once enemies are full scanned, Noctua, Wordwarden copies, and even your equipped weapons gain 50% extra status chance against them. His first ability, and the star of today's build, is Noctua. Noctua is Dante's summoned secondary weapon with infinite ammo and powerful automatic fire. Its shots split into homing fragments that automatically seek nearby enemies. It also has a charge alternate fire that hits insanely hard in a large area. Somehow this book hits harder than many incarnates in the game. And later on, I'll show you how we push this thing into consistent red crit territory. His second ability, Light Verse, briefly makes Dante invulnerable, heals neighbor allies, and grants Overguard. It can be recast extremely quickly while moving, and it also generates light pages for final verse combinations. His third ability, Dark Verse, sends out twin quill strikes that deal heavy slash damage with guaranteed status effects. Finally, his fourth ability, Final Verse, is Dante's combo system. Two light verses grant healing and overguard that scales with kills and assists. Two dark verses unleash a massive damage explosion that concentrates some DOT statuses into one big blow. Mixing light and dark gives you either spectral Noctua copies that attack alongside you, or paracrines that weaken enemies and pull aggro away from your team. And honestly, this is where Dante starts feeling completely unfair. From now on, I will just call the abilities by numbers, so Light Verse, Dark Verse, and Final become 2, 3, and 4. Let's start with Archon Shards and Helmet. We're using 5 Tauforged Topaz Shards for massively increase Noctua's crit chance and push it into red crit territory. As for Helmet, we use none. Every single ability in Dante's kit contributes so much to this build that removing any of them honestly feels wrong. Most of Dante's mods are here to scale Noctua as hard as possible. More strength means more damage, stronger buffs, more overguard, and stronger final verse synergies overall. Arcane precision is especially important because headshots are where this build really starts snowballing. Alternatively, you can use Arcane Hotshot as well. To activate Archon Intensify, simply cast your 2 once, but make sure you heal someone. Then we add Duration with Prime Continuity and Arcane Concentration. For energy economy, we use the classic Flow plus Equilibrium combo. And finally, Natural Talent, because we're going to be casting abilities constantly. Now onto Noctua itself. We stack multiple layers of damage here. Base damage, elemental damage, condition overload scaling, precision damage, crit scaling, basically everything. Visual acuity and deadhead are especially important because weak points hit scale ridiculously hard on this build. We also use Vom Invocation for extra strength, which translates directly into more damage. Just remember to recast Noctua after activating it. Finally, Yahoo Canticle to easily increase our fire rate. But honestly, after all that, what we really need is more fire rate. So we also run any Furex weapon with Amalgam body count. You could run reinforced bond setups, but personally I prefer Diriga. Arc Coil combined with Manifold Bolt, Duplex Bond and Momentous Bond spreads an absurd amount of statuses everywhere, and this is where the build starts getting stupid. Because once enemies are fully primed, Noctua absolutely melts them. Madurai is highly recommended for the extra strength and casting speed, and everything else is mostly preference. Alright, now let's see how this actually performs, because this right here is where the build starts becoming completely ridiculous. Just imagine if we had ribbons for exalted weapons. The quick and unoptimized setup is pretty simple. Summon Noctua and keep your 2-4, 2-3-4 and 3-4 buffs active at all times. Then simply aim for weak points or headshots and steamroll everything in front of you. Remember when I said there is a mechanic not everyone abuses? Wordwarden synchronizes with your attacks, impacting literally where your shots go. So if your initial attack is a headshot, yes, you get another free headshot at 50% of the original strength. But if you really want to push this build into endurance territory, things get a little sweeter. Start by using Noctua's alternate fire to activate Vom Invocation, then voice Link twice, recast Noctua and refresh your buffs. On top of that, you can use this operator arcane, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce, to gain up to 250% extra hit damage for secondaries, including Noctua. Try to spam abilities often enough to keep summoning Diriga clones and ideally attack enemies after they've been primed with statuses. That's where the damage starts getting completely out of hand. We are literally committing war crimes with a flying library. The build is already strong enough to destroy normal steel path without fully maintaining buffs or stacks, but for endurance runs, acolytes or heavier targets, that extra setup makes a massive difference. One final reminder, this build really rewards precision aiming. If you consistently hit headshots, damage becomes absurd, but if precision gameplay isn't your thing, you can absolutely swap the precision focus mods and arcanes for multi-shot, more fire rate or whatever feels better for you. Alright, we made it to the end of the video. At this point we all know how insane Dante is. Massive Overguard generation, absurd nuking potential, and honestly one of the strongest weapon platforms in the game. So, do I recommend Dante? Absolutely. 1000 times yes. Hopefully this gave you a new perspective on Noctua and maybe convinced you to give Dante a shot if you haven't already. Make sure to experiment with him too, because this frame can do way more than what we covered here. And also, start saving your platinum for his next skin, because that thing looks insane. Turns out knowledge really is power. Anyway, that's it from me, Tenno. Thanks for watching until the end, and I'll see you next time. Peace!